a lot of fans outside of the Fan Fest wearing Fever merch and Caitlin Clark jerseys and things like that. What does it mean to you to know that your team has fans, all the way out here on the East Coast?
No, I mean, it's huge, and that's the thing about generational talents.
There are literally hundreds of fans, and you can see all the way down the street. You can see this going all the way down the street, lads.
Once again, Caitlin Clark continuing to break records non-stop. What does she do now?
The WNBA haven't been seeing numbers like that, and they've been here since 1997.
If Caitlin Clark started her own league and just quit the WNBA, it'll be more viewed than WNBA. Like that's a fact.
Thousands of supporters, one superstar, record-breaking moments. Just days after Caitlin Clark drew 2.1 million viewers in a matchup against Dallas, making it ABC's fourth most-watched WNBA game ever, she's set to make history once again. This time, the spotlight is on her clash with the Connecticut Sun hours before tip-off at TD Garden. Fans are already flooding the arena. What should feel like a Sun home game has turned into a Fever takeover, with hardly a Sun jersey in sight. This is what happens when a single player rewrites the record books and turns every court into her own stage.
And it just shows again how important, Caitlin Clark is to the league. Not a single Sun jersey in sight. Like, what Sun jersey do they own?
Caitlin Clark continues to crush the viewership department and bring in those big ratings. This is from ESPN PR. This past Sunday, ABC aired another of its most watched WNBA games ever with the Indiana Fever's win over the Dallas Wings. It averaged 2.1 million viewers and peaked at 2.5 million viewers. WNBA on ESPN is up 7% from last season, man.
Every game is a home game. The league owes her money at this point.
Get this. 2024 was a game changer. That year, 24 WNBA games crossed the 1 million viewer mark. Guess how many of those featured Caitlin Clark? A staggering 21. Nearly every million viewer broadcast had her name attached. We're talking about a player who's transformed the league from struggling to reach 500,000 viewers into a must-watch spectacle. Even the 2024 WNBA draft, where Clark went number 1 overall, pulled in 2.45 million viewers, quadrupling the previous record. To put that in perspective, that draft even outdrew some NBA playoff games.
Now let's look at the viewership, right? So I'm looking at here. So before the WNBA, before Caitlin arrived, the WNBA averaged around 300,000 to 400,000 viewers per game on national television, right? 300,000 to 400,000 viewership, right? The 2023 season, they said they saw an average of 367,000 viewers, right? When Caitlin Clark came, with her presence, viewership has increased with some games drawing over 1 million viewers, right? Caitlin Clark's WNBA draft for her drew 2.45 million viewers. That's crazy. So that means these people and what she did in college and bringing them all to the WNBA scale, people are watching the WNBA because of Caitlin Clark.
The league has gone from being overlooked to becoming must-see TV, and it all revolves around one standout star from Iowa. Remember those Dallas Wings numbers we mentioned? An average of 2.1 million viewers, peaking at 2.5 million? That wasn't even her biggest moment. Her rookie season finale against the Las Vegas Aces became the most-watched WNBA game on cable in history. The player many doubted would be ready for the pros was breaking records before her first season even wrapped. And here's the wild part. These numbers aren't flukes or one-time spikes.
You see, every time the girl is on national TV, she's shattering her own. She's not even shattering viewership records. She can only break her own records at this point. She's already broken everybody else's when it comes to this viewership thing.
69% versus last year's WNBA on ABC regular season average. This season to date, the WNBA across ESPN platforms are up 7% from last season. What's that number when we get rid of the Caitlin Clark games on ABC or ESPN? Because if her games are always better than what they were last season, right? Where does that balance out in terms of the actual growth that the league is seeing that isn't Caitlin Clark reliant?
Every time Caitlin Clark hits the court, the viewership numbers skyrocket. ESPN executives are probably having their dream season, all thanks to a 23-year-old phenom from Iowa. And believe me, this is only the start of the story. If these stats surprise you as much as they did me, drop Clark Effect in the comments and hit that like button, because we're witnessing a transformation that's redefining the entire sport. Gone are the days of half-empty arenas. In May alone, WNBA games drew over 400,000 fans, with more than half of those matchups selling out. For a league that once struggled to fill seats, this is completely uncharted territory.
The viewership for the WNBA this year is going to be off the charts. It's going to be really, really good. And the NCAA women's game next year is going to be through the roof, because everybody is going to want to see what these NIL deals, how they work out, how they make out. But right now with the WNBA, everybody is ajar. Everybody's waiting to see what's going to happen with Caitlin Clark.
TD Garden isn't just any arena. It's the same floor where the Celtics built their legacy, where champions were crowned and legends were born. For the second straight year, the Connecticut Sun have completely sold out this iconic venue. And here's the wild part. It's not even their home court. They're playing in Boston for one simple reason. They know Caitlin Clark will fill every seat.
An economist at Indiana University Columbus calculated that Caitlin Clark was responsible for $36 million in economic impact to the city of Indianapolis, and that she is responsible for 27% of the entire WNBA's economic activity for this past season, including attendance, merchandise sales, and television. One player in a big league responsible for 27% of the economic impact and economic activity for the WNBA.
Boston just witnessed history with its first ever WNBA regular season game, drawing a crowd of 19,156 fans, a complete sellout in one of the most iconic arenas in sports. But this wasn't your usual basketball audience. Many of these fans had never followed women's basketball until Caitlin Clark came along. Families drove for hours just to catch a glimpse of her, and kids rocked Fever jerseys in a city that's never even had a WNBA team. Outside TD Garden, the scene was just as incredible. Fans lined up for hours before tip-off, giving off the vibe of a sold-out concert rather than a game. The energy was off the charts, the anticipation electric. This isn't just sports anymore. It's turned into a cultural movement.
When we look back on this, Caitlin Clark will be for the WNBA what Magic Johnson and Larry Bird were for the NBA. If this thing ever becomes as big as some people think it can become, she will be the Magic Johnson, Larry Bird. You needed two of them to take the NBA to another level. You needed Magic and Larry. She doesn't need anybody.
Things are getting absolutely unreal. Technically, the Connecticut Sun are listed as the home team tonight, but you wouldn't know it by looking around. Witnesses say there's hardly a single Sun jersey in sight. Instead, TD Garden is a sea of fever orange, with Caitlin Clark's number 22 dominating the crowd. The home court advantage? Completely flipped. And this isn't just happening in Boston. Every road game for the Indiana Fever feels like a home game. Whether it's Phoenix, Las Vegas, or New York, the stands are filled with fans chanting Clark's name, turning hostile arenas into friendly territory. Think about how wild that is for someone in just her second year as a pro. Most players spend years trying to build that kind of following. Clark had it before she even stepped onto a WNBA court. Her college games were pulling higher ratings than the league's playoff broadcasts, and now she's carried that same energy to the pros. The WNBA has never seen anything like this. Veterans who've spent years grinding suddenly find themselves playing in front of crowds that are only there for one reason: Clark. Some players embrace it, understanding she's elevating the league. Others? Let's just say there's tension bubbling beneath the surface. Here's the truth no one wants to say out loud. The WNBA's boom right now rests almost entirely on Clark's shoulders. When she got knocked out of the playoffs, viewership tanked. That record-setting 2.5 million viewer game? The next playoff game, without her, barely drew half that number. It exposed just how dependent the league has become on a single 23-year-old star. And that's a dangerous place to be. What happens if she has a bad game? Or worse, if she's injured? What happens when she eventually retires? The league has put all its eggs in one basket, and while that basket is pure gold right now, the risk is enormous. The business side tells the same story. Ticket sales, merchandise, TV ratings, they all revolve around Clark. Teams are building their biggest promotional nights around Fever games. Arenas are beefing up security and concessions just because she's in town. She has literally reshaped the league's entire business model. Yet, despite generating tens of millions of dollars, her salary is still modest compared to the revenue she's driving. Reports suggest the league knows it has to change its approach to player compensation because she's worth more to the WNBA than most franchise players are to NBA teams. Here's the craziest part. Clark doesn't even have to dominate statistically to make an impact. At TD Garden, she went just 2 for 5 in the first half and finished 4 for 14 from the field, an off night by any standard. But the crowd didn't care. They erupted for every pass, every defensive play, every moment she touched the ball. The Fever walked away with an 85-77 win, and the fans left thrilled regardless of the stat sheet. That's the mark of true superstardom. Michael Jordan had off nights. LeBron James has off nights. But people show up anyway because they're watching greatness in real time. Clark has reached that level. The stats, by the way, don't tell the whole story. While her shooting has been up and down since returning from injury, everything else about her game is elite. Her vision, leadership, and ability to make teammates better. Those are the qualities that separate icons from regular players. Her influence goes beyond the scoreboard. It's the same phenomenon we saw with Tiger Woods. He could miss the cut, but the entire sports world would still tune in because his presence alone was magnetic. Clark has that same pull. She's transcended basketball and become a cultural force. The TD Garden game also reignited Boston's push for a WNBA expansion team. The city's sports culture is legendary, and packing nearly 20,000 fans into an arena for a matchup between two teams from out of town sent a loud, undeniable message. Boston is ready. The atmosphere rivaled an NBA game, and the fan engagement was electric. City officials have been advocating for a team for years, and now they've got proof, real numbers, to back it up. But here's the big question. Would those 19,000 fans show up without Clark in the building? Can a Boston franchise sustain that level of excitement once she's not in the picture? Clark's influence extends far beyond the WNBA. She's become the face of women's professional sports in the U.S. Young girls are picking up basketballs because of her. Youth leagues are booming. Colleges are seeing a spike in recruitment and interest. Brands like Nike and Gatorade are pouring money into women's basketball like never before. 2 years ago, that would have been unimaginable. The Clark effect has completely changed the business landscape, but being the face of an entire movement comes with intense pressure. Every shot, every interview, every social post is magnified. She's carrying not just the Fever, not just the WNBA, but the hopes of everyone who wants to see women's sports finally get the respect it deserves. For someone who just turned 23, that's an immense weight to carry. One bad week and headlines explode. One misunderstood comment, and the internet loses its mind. That's the price of being bigger than the game itself. Other women's leagues are paying close attention. The NWSL, women's hockey, even global soccer, they're all searching for their Caitlin Clark, someone who can bring in casual fans and shift the entire culture. So, where does this leave the WNBA? They're experiencing unprecedented growth, but standing on a narrow foundation. Clark has opened a door that might not stay open forever. The league needs to strike now, expand to cities like Boston, Toronto, and Nashville while the momentum is hot. But they also need to create more stars. Clark can't carry the league alone forever. Players like Angel Reese, Paige Buchers, and others need to be elevated and given platforms to shine. Broadcasting deals will also be a game changer. When the current contracts expire, the WNBA will have far more leverage than ever before, all thanks to Clark. Networks that ignored the league are suddenly fighting for the rights to air her games. That's something the WNBA has never experienced. What we saw at TD Garden wasn't just a basketball game. It was a cultural moment. A sold-out crowd in one of the most historic arenas in sports, fans lining up hours before tip-off, and TV ratings that keep breaking records. All because of one player who's rewriting what's possible in women's sports. The 2.1 million viewers for the Dallas game, the fourth most watched WNBA game in history, that was just the beginning. Every time Caitlin Clark steps on the floor, she's not just playing a game, she's making history. She's proving that women's sports can pull huge audiences, generate real revenue, and create moments that matter. But the big question remains, what happens next? The WNBA has a once-in-a-generation opportunity to cement itself as a major league. They have the star, they have the spotlight, and they have the momentum. The challenge now is building something sustainable beyond Clark. One thing's for certain. Caitlin Clark has changed the game forever. Whether the league can match her impact is still up in the air. But right now, every arena feels like her arena. Every game is must-watch TV. And every record? It's only a matter of time before she breaks it. The revolution is happening, and it's wearing number 22.